everyone, thank you for joining me for another online yoga class. Today's class is going to be good for you if you're feeling under the weather or if you're just feeling tired and not fancying such an energetic, active class. If you have an existing medical condition, I recommend that you speak to your doctor before partaking in the class. This is going to be good for you if you're not feeling very well. I'll be offering up modifications depending on the symptoms of your condition. So for example, if you have headaches, make sure you avoid coming into too many inversions. You want to keep your head over your heart. If you have conditions with nausea or you're not feeling very good in your digestive capacity, then avoid coming into extreme forward folds or twists. Make sure you move very gently here, and the same, you don't want to be extending, so don't come into extreme ranges of back bends either. If you have bloating or just sluggish digestion, then forward folds and twists may be really beneficial to you, but make sure you move gently. You don't want to be compressing and adding too much extra tension to these areas. Make sure that you modify as needed, take it slowly. I'm going to be bringing in a couple of blocks and a strap to help me towards the end of class, so feel free to bring those in as well. I really hope you feel better and I hope you enjoy the class. Namaste. Okay, so we're actually going to start in a child's pose today. Now, depending on how you're feeling, this may feel a little bit too intense. So if you've had feelings of nausea or if you've had headaches and you'd rather just stay in a seated position, feel free to stay here. If you've had trouble with your digestion or you're just feeling a little bit tired or unwell, then child's pose is going to be a really lovely way to hopefully restore some of those energies that may have been depleted. So either stay where you are in a cross-legs position, or bring your shins, your knees mat distance apart, or you can keep them hips distance apart depending on how you feel. And you can either rest your forehead down onto the floor, or maybe try resting your forehead to a block. You can keep your hands on the block, or you can extend your arms out front if you wanted to take more of a shoulder stretch. If you wanted to come into a slightly more restorative version, then bring the knees together. Bring the arms alongside the body with the palms face up. And just use this opportunity to begin to connect to your breathing. Slow, deep inhales and exhales through the nose if you can. Obviously, if you've had a cold or something like that, conditions with your respiratory system or asthmatic or things like this, it can be better just to breathe through the mouth. But if you can, try to maintain that breathing with sound. So the restriction to the back of the throat, creating that ocean-like sound in the back of the head. And just use this opportunity to try and let go of any stories or thoughts about how you think you're feeling, how you are, and accept yourself exactly as you are in this moment. Listen to your body, but avoid attaching yourself to the outcome of your practice. Allow yourself to feel heavy. If you're in a seated position, then allow yourself to root down through the sit bones and the shins. If you're in a child's pose and your forehead has contact with either the earth or the block, allow yourself to feel rooted through the third eye center in your forehead. And then from here we're going to move into a side stretch just to make sure we bring some mobility into the spine. So you can keep the block in your child's pose if you had it. I'll show you how to modify from a seated position in just a moment. But if you're in a child's pose, you're going to extend your arms out in front and then walk the hands over to the right, releasing the forehead down onto the mat, feeling a stretch in the left side body, the left shoulder, along the left side of the ribs. If you're in a seated position, then you can just stay in your cross legs. Bring your right hand to the outside of the right hip and bring the left arm up and over, feeling the stretch along the left side of the body, feeling the stretch through the ribs. Okay, maintaining the connection with the earth through the sit bones. Try to check in that left hip is planting down into the heel if you're in your child's pose and it's not lifting up. Take one more full breath here. And inhale, come through center, stretch forward. And exhale, walk the hands over to the left, releasing the forehead down to the floor. Or if you're in the seated position, just bring the left hand to the outside of the left hip, and bring the right hand up and over, feeling the stretch along the right side of the body. Try to lengthen the inhales to match the exhales as best you can. And then inhale, come back to center, extend forward. Exhale, just press back into your child's pose. And we're going to come into a twist from child's pose. Now, if again, you've had conditions with nausea and your digestion has been a little bit in overdrive, maybe diarrhea as well, these are going to be a little bit intense. So make sure you go gently, especially with forward folds and twists. If it feels better to just skip it, then just make sure you skip it. So from child's pose, you're going to bring your left arm underneath your right. Come to rest down on the left shoulder and the left ear, looking out towards the left fingertips. Keep that right arm extended out in front of you, feeling the stretch in the shoulder. If you're in the seated position, then just bring the left hand to the outside, the right hand to the outside of the right hip, left hand towards the right knee. Inhale to draw up through the crown of the head. And as we exhale, we twist. And just be aware that if you're feeling unwell or tired, this can bring in a whole load of different symptoms. So if you feel anything new beginning to arise, maybe as you begin to twist or as you begin to fold forward, you either feel lightheaded or it makes you feel a bit sick, make sure that you modify as appropriate and only take what feels comfortable. And if you do find a spot that feels especially comfortable and helps relieve some of the symptoms, make sure you indulge a little bit and stay there for as long as you need. Inhale, come through center, extend through the left hand. As we exhale, we twist over towards the right. So the right hand extends out to the side, coming to rest on the right shoulder, the right ear, or from a seated position, we come into the twist, bringing the right hand towards the left knee, the left hand to the outside of the hip. Soft twist, aiming to bring the twist from above the waist. So allow the movement to come from the rib cage and the shoulders without hunching through the shoulders or rounding through the upper back. Try to avoid bringing too much of a twist into the lower back or the pelvis. Try to keep this level. Take one more full breath here. Exhale, let it go. Inhale, come through center, press forward. Exhale fully. And then inhale, walk the hands back if you're in child's pose. We'll all come into a seat. And we're going to come into Baddha Konasana, bound angle pose. So again, we have got the option to come into a forward fold, bringing the soles of the feet together. You may want blocks underneath your thighs here. If the knees don't comfortably reach down towards the floor, you can place them down with the hands on the outside of the hips. If you're here and you're feeling a little bit nauseous or sensitive as we move into the forward fold, then just stay lifted nice and tall through the spine. Keep the belly drawn in a little bit to help protect you and to keep the spine nice and tall. If, however, you're feeling okay and it doesn't affect your head, if you have headaches, you can begin to bring your hands to the towards the toes, interlace the fingers, lift the chest, lift up, look up. And as we exhale, we hinge forward from the hips, beginning to bring the chin down towards the floor in front of us, feeling a stretch through those inner thighs, steadying your breath. Keep the shoulders drawn away from the ears wherever you are. Trying to maintain the integrity of the spine. Having a good posture can make the world of difference when you're feeling unwell. I find oftentimes that when I feel unwell, it's often made to feel worse when I've been sitting all day in a bad position or I haven't moved for a long time. So bringing in some small gentle movements that feel comfortable is going to be a really wonderful way of hopefully relieving some of the symptoms such as headaches or fatigue, things that come up a lot from not moving. Inhale to come up through center. Bring the knees back to center. And we're going to come into a wide leg forward fold now, Upavista Konasana. So bringing the legs to a comfortably wide distance. Toes flexed back towards you. Bring the knees up so they face the ceiling. We have the same options here to again bring the hands to the outside of the hips, lengthen the spine, lift the chest. Feel the stretch in the inner thighs and maybe the outsides of the glutes. If you wanted to take it forward, then you could begin to bring your hands in front, either towards the floor, or if you have a block, that may feel nice, but try to maintain the length in the spine. Draw the shoulders down and away from the ears. Keep the chest lifted. And look forward. And bear in mind as well that your mobility, your range of motion may be limited as well if you've been unwell for a longer time. Because you're going to have been perhaps more in seated positions. So the hamstrings may feel a little bit tight, the inner thighs may feel a little bit tight. We haven't really done much of a warm-up either, because bringing in too much dynamic movement is probably not the best thing when you're not feeling well. So instead of forcing yourself to go to the full end of your range of motion, just try to experience the stretch where you are now. Notice how you're feeling and where you're feeling it. It may be different to where you would ordinarily feel it. Maybe you've had some strain in your shoulders if you've been hunching or rounding. Maybe, as I said, the backs of the legs. Maybe feeling tightness in the hip flexors as well. Take one more full deep breath. Exhale, let it go. Inhale to walk the hands back up. And exhale, release the legs, bringing them back into center. Coming into Dandasana, staff pose, seated staff pose. Have the toes flexed back towards you, bring the hands to the outsides of the hips, lengthen the spine, lift the chest. Very gently drop the chin towards the chest to activate Jalandhara Bandha, the throat bandha, the small restriction to the throat. Notice how you're feeling here. Begin to bring awareness to the spaces where you feel the most tight. So the backs of the legs, maybe the calves are feeling a little bit tight. Maybe it feels tighter in the upper back. So as you lengthen the spine and lift the chest, Maybe it feels nice to expand through the front side of the body. And you're welcome to stay here, looking towards the big toes and maintaining a steady breath. Or if you wanted to take it further, you can come into Paschimottanasana, seated forward fold, taking hold of the thighs, the shins, or take a strap around the feet. Lengthen the spine and lift the chest, and as we exhale, we hinge forward, looking towards the toes. So, as I was saying, it depends what the symptoms are, but if you have bloating or constipation or other digestive issues where you're feeling sluggish, it can be a really good thing to do is to include forward folds, beginning to bring the awareness to the low belly by drawing the belly in, drawing the belly button towards the spine, breathing deep into the ribs. And what this is going to do is it's going to bring awareness to all those organs in the abdominal cavity and hopefully begin to wake up your digestive system a little bit. Maintaining the strength, the length of the spine, draw the shoulders away from the ears, bringing the chin towards the shin and looking towards the toes. Try to visualize yourself as lengthening forward as opposed to rounding, so don't drop the head down. Keep nice and tall through the neck. Take one more deep full breath here. Inhale, head up, look forward. And exhale to release back to staff pose. Okay, and from here we're going to take a little bit of a twist, Ardha Matsyendrasana, half Lord of the Fishes pose. Move gently with this. So I'll just turn to face you. You're going to bring your right knee in towards the chest, and then you're going to bring your right foot to the outside of the left knee. Keep that left leg nice and extended tall. Bring the left hand to the outside of the hip. You can keep your right hand on the knee, or you can bring the elbow to the inside of the knee. So this is a variation on Ardha Matsyendrasana, half Lord of the Fishes pose. As you can see, this is an open twist. What we often do in this posture is to bring the outer edge of the left elbow towards the outer edge of the knee. This makes a more restrictive posture in the low belly. Having the open twist towards the leg remains nice and open through the front side of the body. It doesn't give a compressive twist. So often what we're looking for is to kind of wring out the internal organs. When you're sick or feeling under the weather, this can be a little bit too of an intense detoxing motion. So instead we're just going to have an open twist, tune into how we're feeling. Remain tall through the spine, keep the chest lifted, keep the shoulders away from each other and expanding through the chest, and still trying to bring the movement from above the navel, so as if the thoracic spine, the rib cage, was twisting out to the side. Take one more full breath, looking out towards the left, and exhale to release. Bring the right knee back to center and release. And we'll repeat that on the other side. So bringing the left knee in, then bring the foot to the outside of the right knee. And from here we're going to bring the outer edge of the left elbow towards the inside of the left knee. Palm faces out, right hand to the outside of the right hip. Coming into that open twist. Feeling it from the ribs, moving over to the side. Don't force anything. Try to maintain the length of the spine over anything else. So if you're trying to really force it around the spine, you may notice that the shoulder begins to collapse, the neck begins to cave forward, the upper back begins to overarch. So what you want to do is imagine that you had a piece of string drawing up through the crown of the head, keep the chest lifted up, and just allow the twist to happen more naturally as you follow your gaze point over towards the side. And then as we inhale, take a deep breath, exhale to release. Supported bridge pose, Setu Bandhasana. So you're going to want to block, if you haven't got a block, a cushion or something will do nicely as well, or a couple of books. You're going to come to lay on your back. If you're not sure what you're doing, you can watch me first. So bring the feet in towards the hips, toes in slightly. Hips, knees and ankles are all aligned with each other. You want the shoulders to be grounding into the mat beneath you and the back of the head to be pressing softly into the mat so that there's no strain on the neck. You're then going to begin to tilt the pelvis, drawing the tailbone towards the backs of the knees. Lift the hips up and place the block underneath the sacrum, which is the flat part of the spine. So make sure it's not on the curvature of the spine itself, but actually resting on the top of the pelvis. You can release the arms alongside the body, palms face up if you're balanced, palms face down if you're not. Make sure that the knees aren't rolling out to the side, but they're staying in line with the hips. Bringing the chest towards the chin and drawing the chin away from the chest to create the length along the throat. You don't want to be compressing through the throat too much if you're not feeling well. And if this is bringing on headaches, then make sure that you ease off, either adjust the block to a lower setting, or you can just come to rest on your back instead. So this one can feel lovely if you've had a lot of time either sitting in bed or sitting on the sofa. This is going to be a lovely way of opening up through the front side of the body and the hip flexors, where I said that they could be getting quite tight. But it's worth noting as well that if you have got either abdominal cramps, nausea, then extending this area could make it feel a little bit more vulnerable, and it could make you feel a little bit wheezy or just not feeling that good in this posture. So make sure that you adjust as needed. Staying strong through the shoulders and the back of the head, looking up towards the ceiling off of the tip of the nose. Trying to breathe deep into the ribs still. Softly drawing the low belly in to help protect the lower back from overarching. Take one more deep full breath. Inhale, pressing into the heels, lift the hips just slightly enough to release the block. And then very, very slowly, one vertebrae at a time, begin to roll down, bringing the hips back to the floor. We're going to come into Matsyasana, supported fish pose. So you can extend your legs out, long toes point. I recommend, if you've got them, that you have 2 blocks ready here. If again, no blocks, then cushions will work just fine. So that the first block is going to be between the shoulder blades. On any height that feels good. It's going for a chest expansion. You may need to adjust as needed. And that the second block is there to support your head. So you can either have it on a higher setting so that the neck is in a slight flexion, or if you have it on a lower setting, make sure you're not really overarching here, but you can have the neck going into a little bit of extension, so opening up through the throat that way. Modify as needed, as is comfortable. So you'll just begin to lower down, make sure that the block is not hurting you, it's not pressing into your spine, but just resting in between the shoulder blades, and then release the crown of the head behind you, either onto the block on a lower setting or a more even or higher setting. Keep the legs extended out long, let the arms rest alongside the body with the palms face up, let the shoulders drape down away from the ears. Breathing into the ribs. Take just one more deep breath in through the nose. Feel it going deep into the ribs, lifting the chest. Exhale, let it go. Slowly as you can, draw the elbows down into the floor beneath you for support as you lift the chin towards the chest. Press into the hands to sit up. Release the blocks from beneath you and come to lay down on your back. We're going to come into Supta Baddha Konasana, reclined bound angle pose. So draw the knees in, bring the soles of the feet together, allowing the knees to fall open to the sides. You can place blocks underneath the knees, or you can just let gravity begin to draw them down towards the earth. If it feels nice, you can rest your left hand on your heart and your right hand on your belly. Feeling a stretch in the inner thighs, maybe the glutes as you open up through the hips. And begin to scan your body without judgment or stories. Just notice any places where you feel tension or sensation. And try to direct your energy, your breath into these areas where you feel either pain or just tightness, restriction or soreness. Try to direct your energy, your breath into these places, filling them with powerful healing energy. And as you exhale, visualize yourself cleansing of any unwanted trauma you're holding within the body, any unwanted sensations. You release them with your air as you exhale. Now, if you wanted to stay here for your Shavasana, you're welcome to stay in this posture. It's a beautiful restorative way of letting go. If you would like a more traditional Shavasana, then you can bring your knees in towards your chest. Release your legs long, bring your feet out to the front corners of the mat. Release your arms alongside the body with the palms facing up. Take any props you would like, maybe blocks underneath the knees or cushion underneath the head, maybe a blanket. Take any movements that your body needs here. Draw the shoulders down away from the ears, lifting the ribs. Draw the tailbone down towards the backs of the feet to lengthen the lower back. Maybe tipping the chin towards the chest to help lengthen out the back of the neck. Take as long as you need in your Shavasana. Make sure to allow your body plenty of time to rest, restoring your energy that may be depleted, and filling yourself with love and acceptance for exactly where you are today. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. As you go forward, I wish you peace in your thoughts, peace in your words, peace in your heart. Namaste.